Hey everybody, it's Lori here. I am so excited to be here today with a new kit for Tailored Expressions. This kit was made by my dear friend Lori Craig, and it is so cute, and there's so many elements inside that makes it so much fun. I'm going to go through this really quick and show you what's all included. Of course, you get this really cute zipper pouch with the Field Notes sticker on the front. I showed you the stack of envelopes and envelope stickers, and here are all the stamps. This is the rough draft background. There are the field notes. There are the sketchbook florals, stamps, and then of course we have to throw in some awesome masking stencils. These are deckled edge masking stencils. There's two sizes of rectangles, and then of course you've got the two inserts. So I'm going to show you a really easy way to use masking stencils. This works for any masking stencil. I've got the sticky, it's a sticky chunk of a Cricut mat. This was recently used by my friend Betsy, and I thought how perfect this would be to use masking stencils. So first I put down my paper, and now I've just lined up and sealed that masking stencil around the outside. No tape, no pixie spray, super easy. I've got my confetti cake and a blender brush from Tailored Expressions, and I'm just going to add this light blue here to the background. Really easy to blend in, and that mat doesn't move at all, so it's super nice. Now to take off your paper, this is what I figured out. Take off your stencil. You can see that gorgeous thing in the middle there, that gorgeous area, and then you want to peel the mat off. Peel it so it's kind of curled off, and that way your paper stays nice and flat. Now, I decided to add an extra element, so I'm putting it back on the sticky mat, lining it up, and this time I'm going to place this inside my MISTI because we're going to use the rough draft background over the top, and I want it to be just in that stenciled area. So I'm placing that background stamp right over the open area, and I'm going to, forgot to take out my MISTI mat, so put that back. I'm just swiping that confetti cake ink all over that background stamp and then stamping down to get a really good image. And I decided just to do one more layer, so swiping it around and pressing down nice and firm. So when you take your mat out of your MISTI, do the same thing again like I said before. Take off your masking stencil and peel the mat back so it curls the mat, not your cardstock. And you can see that I just kept that cardstock nice and flat. Always put your the plastic film back on that sticky mat to help keep it sticky and clean. So here we've got the floral images. I'm going to add one of these to my MISTI, and I'm going to use some Tuxedo Memento black ink onto a piece of 110-pound Neenah. I'm going to use Copics. Nobody panic. I know I don't use Copics very often, but I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it in the most easy way possible. I'm using just 3 yellows and a couple of greens and some browns, and I'm just flicking on the color. I'm not worried about blending or perfect blending. I'm just adding in a little bit of color in a super easy way, and these flowers are great for that. They look gorgeous watercolored. Please go see Lori's blog because her cards are amazing. But I'm just adding in a little bit of darker yellow for a little bit of shade, just flicking in the color, and it's super easy. So now I'm going to go back in with a lighter color just to slightly blend that out. Again, I'm not being super careful. Just enough to add a really light amount of color. Same thing with the green, just going in really lightly, and then I'm going to add a second layer of green just for a little tiny bit of shading. Flicking the color, I think that's like my favorite way to color. As long as there's no actual blending involved, then I feel like sometimes I can pull it off. Definitely not a pro, but I colored, so that's great. So for this flower here, up here, I'm going to just use little dots. I started with the lightest brown I could find. I think it's like E33 maybe, or E53. and just covering that space in the little dots, little fine dots, and then with the heavier hand, so it's like polka dots. And then I'm going to go back in with E55, which is just a little bit darker, and just add in more dots. My other colors that I've used are E57 and E59. And just adding lots of dots. The darker, I liked adding the E59 because I felt like it added a really good amount of contrast to that, the head of that flower. The way that it's drawn, there's lots of little curves and details, and I felt like for me, not really knowing how to shade and color in the best way, the dots worked perfectly. So now I'm going to go in and die cut this flower. So I love these open face dies, and I'm just using purple tape to add the die to the cardstock. And I went ahead and cut that out, and I've layered that onto my card front. Now I'm trying to decide from the field notes set what sentiment to use and if I want to add any more elements, but for clean and simple sake, or quick and simple sake, we're just going to use the hello there sentiment. So I want to show you just how easy it is to use red rubber in your MISTI. First, I've taken the mat out, I've lined up my card base, and now I have just a piece of clear plastic. You could use acetate. This is actually an old Cropper Hopper insert, kind of like your Stamp-A-Ma-Jig type idea. So I've added in the sentiment, and I'm going to close the door on the MISTI and pick it up. And all I do is make sure that that sentiment is straight with the lines on the MISTI. It's super easy to line those up, and there's not a lot of thought involved. I still have that plastic sheet in there, and I quickly stamp my sentiment on it just to make sure it's straight, and really 9 times out of 10 it's perfect. So you can see that it lined up nice and easy. So one extra detail that I have to add is some fun foam. I add fun foam to the back of my cards, to the front of my cards. Fun foam works perfect for sentiments, but in this case we're using it as a dimensional for this flower image. So I've die cut the image again in fun foam, used my favorite liquid adhesive, and then I just slide that flower into place so it's perfect, and it just gives us that 3D flower to add to the card front. Now of course you could add foam tape or chunks of fun foam, but this is just so much easier, and it gives a nice solid image. So I'm adding some more liquid adhesive and adding that right next to the sentiment on the card. Now I stared at it for a while and tried to decide what else it needed, and we're going to my go-to. I always use clear drops. They're so easy to add to a card, and they're just fun, and it gives it a little bit of sparkle. I always go with 3. I try to add more, but 3 is where I always land. So I've got my jewel picker, my liquid adhesive, and I'm just popping those into place. I always pick the small for the top, the large for the second one, and then down below the middle sized. It feels right. It just feels right. So for the last step for this card, I'm going to add a colored card base. Just scoring that with my Score Buddy, and I'm going to add in some adhesive right onto that card base, and then we're going to add the card front right on top. So to line those up, use your thumb and forefinger on the left side of the card, slide that up against. When you've got it perfectly centered, you can drop it, and it'll be perfect every time. So that is my card for today. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please take a second and like and subscribe. I hope that you'll want to come back and visit me soon. And I want to share a second card too, obviously another easy, quick and easy with all of the elements of this gorgeous card kit called Field Notes. Definitely check it out. Everything I've used today is linked below in the description. I hope you'll come back soon. Have a great day.